Sometimes the answer to your biggest problem is sitting right in front of you, and you don't even realize it until someone else points it out. I've been watching this Lakers team closely, analyzing every possession, every defensive breakdown, every fourth quarter where we've struggled to get stops. And I keep coming back to the same question: what's the one thing standing between this roster and legitimate championship contention? It's not offense. We have Luka Doncic orchestrating one of the most efficient attacks in the league. It's not scoring depth. Austin Reeves has been absolutely phenomenal. No, the issue is something more fundamental, something that's been haunting us in crucial moments. Welcome back to Lakers News Fan Report, where I bring you the latest updates, breaking developments, and insider perspectives on everything happening with our beloved purple and gold. I'm here every single day to cut through the noise, give you real analysis, and keep you connected to what matters most. If you live and breathe Lakers basketball like I do, you're in the right place. We're building something special here, and I want you to be part of this community that's all about championship aspirations. Before we dive deep into what I'm about to share with you, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. I'm talking about the kind of content that respects your intelligence as a fan, that gives you insights you won't find anywhere else, and that keeps you ahead of the conversation. Turn on those notifications because when big news breaks, you'll want to be first to know. Let me paint a picture for you. The Lakers are sitting at 15 wins and 4 losses. That's an incredible start to the season. The Luka Doncic era is in full swing, and the results have been exactly what we hoped for when that blockbuster trade went down in February. But here's the thing about championship teams: they're not just good, they're complete. They have answers for every situation, solutions for every problem, and depth in every area that matters. Our perimeter defense has been inconsistent this season. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. We've had games where opposing guards have carved us up, where three-point shooters have gotten comfortable, where we've struggled to contain elite wing scorers. That's not a criticism, it's an observation based on what I've watched game after game. And if we're serious about winning a championship, about competing with the elite teams in both conferences, we need to address this. The trade deadline is February 5th. That's the date circled on every team's calendar, the moment when contenders make their final push, when franchises commit to their championship aspirations or pivot to the future. And right now, across the league, there's one name that keeps coming up in conversations about defensive excellence, about versatility, about the kind of two-way impact that transforms good teams into great ones. I want you to think about what the ideal Lakers wing looks like in our current system. Someone who can guard multiple positions. Someone who brings elite defensive instincts. Someone who fits seamlessly into Luka's offensive schemes while providing the kind of perimeter defense that allows us to be elite on both ends. Someone who's proven, who's battle-tested, who understands what it takes to compete at the highest level. That profile exists, and it's closer to becoming reality than most people realize. Over the last few weeks, I've been paying attention to some interesting developments. Not the loud, headline-grabbing stuff that dominates social media, but the subtle indicators that tell you when something real is brewing. Player availability patterns. Insider comments that seem casual but carry significant weight. The kind of details that separate speculation from legitimate possibility. There's a defensive specialist in the league right now who's been sidelined for most of the last 15 games. 14 out of 15 to be exact. That's not a typical injury pattern for someone who's been relatively healthy throughout their career. That's a situation that makes you wonder if there's more to the story. And here's the kicker, the one game this player suited up for, January 6th. Against the Lakers in Los Angeles at Crypto.com Arena. You're probably asking yourself right now, why would a player miss 2 straight weeks of action, then suddenly be available for one specific game against one specific team, then go right back to being unavailable? That's not how typical injuries work. That's not how load management usually plays out. That looks like something else entirely. That looks like a showcase. That looks like a message being sent. Kevin O'Connor, one of the most connected voices in NBA media, recently made an appearance where he discussed several potential trade scenarios heading into the deadline. And when he started talking about the Lakers, when he started discussing realistic targets that could elevate this roster, he mentioned something that absolutely caught my attention. He talked about mutual interest, not one-sided pursuit, not wishful thinking from a fan base, mutual interest between a player and an organization. The player in question, Herbert Jones, and according to O'Connor, this isn't just the Lakers being interested in upgrading their perimeter defense. This is a two-way street. This is Jones, or at minimum his representation, expressing genuine interest in what Los Angeles could offer. That changes everything about how we should view this potential move. Let me break down exactly who Herbert Jones is for those who might not be completely familiar. The man is a defensive monster. We're talking about someone who consistently guards the opponent's best perimeter player, who can switch across multiple positions, who has the size at 6'7" to battle bigger wings and the quickness to stay with guards. His defensive versatility is exactly what modern championship teams need. Jones was drafted 43rd overall in 2021 by the New Orleans Pelicans. He immediately made an impact as a rookie, finishing second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Think about that for a second. A second-round pick finishing second in DPOY voting as a rookie. That's the kind of immediate defensive impact we're talking about. He made the all-defensive second team that season, and he's continued to be one of the most impactful defensive players in the entire league. The numbers back up the eye test completely. When Jones is on the floor, the Pelicans' defensive rating improves dramatically. He's the kind of player who makes everyone around him better defensively, who can take on the toughest assignments and allow his teammates to focus on their strengths. That's invaluable in playoff basketball, where one defensive breakdown can cost you a series. Now I know what some of you are thinking. What about his offense? That's a fair question. Jones has never been a high-volume scorer, and his offensive efficiency this season has been inconsistent. His three-point shooting has fluctuated, and he's not the kind of player who's going to create his own shot consistently. But here's the critical thing to understand. He doesn't need to be that player on this Lakers roster. With Luka Doncic running the offense, with Austin Reeves providing secondary creation, with the offensive weapons we already have in place, Jones wouldn't be asked to carry a heavy offensive load. He'd be asked to do what he does best. Defend at an elite level, make the right play when the ball comes to him, knock down open threes when Luka creates them, and bring energy and intensity on every possession. Those are things he can absolutely deliver. Think about how Jones would fit into our current rotation. You could start him at the 3, giving you a defensive stopper who can guard the opponent's best wing. You could bring him off the bench to provide a defensive jolt against second units. You could play him at the 4 in smaller lineups when we need versatility. His skill set is exactly the kind that translates to multiple situations, multiple matchups, multiple schemes. The perimeter defense would instantly improve. Imagine having Jones available to throw at players like Jason Tatum, like Kawhi Leonard, like Kevin Durant. Imagine having that defensive weapon in the playoffs when every possession matters. Imagine Luka being able to conserve energy on the defensive end because we have someone who can consistently get stops against elite scorers. That's the kind of addition that changes your championship ceiling. But here's where this gets really interesting, and this is the part I need you to pay close attention to. The mutual interest aspect changes the entire dynamic of potential negotiations. When a player wants to be somewhere, when a player sees the opportunity and is genuinely interested in joining a specific team, that creates pathways that might not otherwise exist. O'Connor specifically mentioned that Jones might prefer a change of scenery. New Orleans has been struggling this season. They're not in playoff position. The roster construction hasn't worked out the way they hoped. For a player like Jones, who's in his prime years, who's proven he can compete at the highest level, spending another season on a non-contender doesn't make a lot of sense. He wants to win. He wants to compete for championships. And the Lakers, with Luka Doncic leading the way, offer exactly that opportunity. The challenge, and I want to be completely honest with you here, is the price. The Pelicans have made it clear they value Jones highly. Multiple insiders have reported that New Orleans is asking for significant assets in return for either Jones or Trey Murphy III. We're talking about draft capital, young players, the kind of package that makes you pause and really evaluate whether the trade makes sense long-term. Dan Woik recently pointed out something important about the Lakers' draft capital situation. If the front office decides to wait until the summer rather than making a move before the February deadline, they'd have multiple first-round picks available to package in a deal. That flexibility could be crucial when it comes to landing a player like Jones, especially if the Pelicans are holding firm on their asking price right now. The question becomes, do you make the move now, potentially giving up more than you'd like because you're competing with other teams at the deadline? Or do you wait until the summer when you have more assets available, when the market might be different, when the Pelicans might be more willing to negotiate? That's the strategic calculation the Lakers' front office is weighing right now. I'll tell you my perspective. If Jones is genuinely interested in being here, if there's mutual interest as O'Connor suggests, waiting until summer might actually work in our favor. The Lakers could continue building chemistry with the current roster, could make a legitimate playoff push with what we have, and then make a significant addition in the offseason when we have more flexibility. That's patient, strategic team building. But there's also the argument for striking now. Championship windows don't stay open forever. Luka is playing at an MVP level right now. The team chemistry is excellent. The standings look fantastic. If you can add a piece like Jones, who immediately improves your title odds, who gives you a defensive weapon you don't currently have, maybe you don't wait. Maybe you get aggressive, pay the price, and go all in on this season. The fact that Jones played against us on January 6th is something I can't stop thinking about. That wasn't a coincidence. In a league where everything is calculated, where player appearances are managed carefully, having someone who's been out for weeks suddenly available for one specific game against one specific team means something. It was an opportunity for the Lakers to see him up close, to evaluate the fit, to have conversations that might not otherwise happen. And here's another layer to consider. The Lakers have been really smart about their roster construction this season. They've built depth. They've developed young players. They've created a situation where they can make moves without completely gutting the core. That's important when you're negotiating for someone like Jones, because you can offer packages that make sense for both sides without destroying what you've built. The defensive identity this team could have with Jones in the lineup is genuinely exciting. You'd have a roster capable of switching everything, of matching up with any offensive scheme, of getting stops in the biggest moments. Combined with the offensive firepower we already possess, that's a championship formula. That's the kind of two-way excellence that wins titles in today's NBA. I want to emphasize something important here. This isn't just fan wishful thinking. This isn't me sitting here creating narratives out of thin air. Multiple credible sources have discussed this possibility. The mutual interest angle has been reported by people with real connections. The timing of Jones' availability patterns raises legitimate questions. This is a realistic scenario that could absolutely happen. The Lakers would do this trade today if they could get it at a reasonable price. That's not speculation, that's just understanding how championship-caliber organizations operate. You don't pass on elite defensive talent when you're trying to maximize a championship window. You find a way to make it work. And with Jones potentially wanting to be here, that makes the path forward much clearer. New Orleans is in a tough spot. They're not contending this season. They have valuable assets that other teams want. At some point, they have to make a decision about whether to hold on to players who might not be part of their long-term future or cash in those assets for picks and young players who can be part of their rebuild. That's the leverage point that could make a deal possible. The offseason might indeed be when this all comes together. The Lakers would have more draft capital. The Pelicans would have more time to evaluate their situation. Jones would have a full summer to prepare for joining a new team. The timing could actually work out perfectly for everyone involved. And if the mutual interest is real, if Jones genuinely wants to be here, that patience could pay off in a major way. I'm optimistic about where this is headed. I think the Lakers are in an excellent position. I think the roster as currently constructed can compete with anyone. And I think adding someone like Herbert Jones, whether it happens at the deadline or in the summer, would take us from contender to genuine favorite. That's the kind of move that defines championship seasons. So here's my question for you, and I really want to hear your thoughts on this. Would you make the move for Herbert Jones right now if it meant giving up significant draft capital? Or would you rather wait until the summer when we have more flexibility? Do you think the defensive upgrade is worth whatever price the Pelicans are asking? And how do you feel about the mutual interest angle? Does that make you more confident this could actually happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one and I love having these discussions with you. This is exactly the kind of move that championship teams explore. This is the kind of calculated risk that separates good organizations from great ones. And with everything I'm seeing, everything I'm hearing, everything that's been reported, I believe the Lakers and Herbert Jones makes too much sense not to happen eventually. The timing might not be perfect right now, but the fit is undeniable. Before I let you go, I need 3 things from you. First, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. We're dropping content every single day with the kind of analysis and insights you won't find anywhere else. Second, hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. When big news breaks, when trades happen, when situations develop, you'll be the first to know. And third, share this video with every Lakers fan you know. We're building a community of people who care about this team as much as we do. The Lakers are in an incredible position. We have a superstar in Luka Doncic. We have emerging talent in Austin Reeves. We have a coach who's building something special. And we have opportunities to add pieces that could take us all the way. Herbert Jones represents one of those opportunities, and I genuinely believe it's going to happen. The only question is when. I'll be back tomorrow with more updates, more analysis, and more of everything you need to stay connected to your Lakers. Until then, keep believing, keep supporting, and remember that championship dreams are built one smart decision at a time. This is Lakers News Fan Report, and I'll catch you in the next one.